Do you know that your finances can be attacked, or there's such a thing as financial bondage? This is how you know. Number one, when you realize that you are always running into debt, your finances are under attack. Number two, when you find that you have this inability to gather money or to hold or control money, when the money comes into your hand, immediately it is finished. You cannot account for the monies that come to your hand. That is an attack. And number three, when you realize that you have insufficiency for the basics, you always don't have money for food, shelter, clothing, these normal basic things of life. You don't have them. You don't have money for them. That is financial bondage. When you also realize that you are always facing problems that drain your finances, you always face situations that take away all your money. As soon as you get money, then something happens. You have to use all your money for that situation. That is an attack. When you also realize that you are also making unwise investments, maybe for example, you get money and then someone comes to you, oh, there is this investment, you make a lot of money. When you invest this amount, you get double of that amount, and you also blindly join into that deception. That is an attack. When you have the spirit of show off, you don't have much, but you always want to do things for people to know that you belong. You always want to do things for people to see that, oh, you have. Meanwhile, you don't have. Then you end up borrowing money to cover up for your inadequacies. That is an attack too. When you also realize that you don't have the ability to save. The monies that come to you, don't save anything. You spend everything. As soon as it comes, you spend it all. Before it even comes, it is gone. And when you are asked, oh, it's not even enough, you can't, it's not enough to handle all the things you need to do, how can you save? But that's the wrong attitude and the wrong character. When you realize that in your family, poverty is the order of the day. When you have inherited poverty, in your family, poverty, that is the order of the day. Nobody rises above certain level. That is financial bondage. When you are also manipulated to give money to the wrong people, it can cause you to enter into financial bondage, because there are people that are not what you see them to be. So when you are manipulated, when you start feeling for those kind of people, instead of being discerning in the things of God enough to see who people really are, when you are manipulated to give money to those who don't need it or those who really don't deserve it, you can enter into financial bondage. When you realize that you are lazy, you find it difficult to work and earn a good living or earn an income, that will end you up in financial bondage too, because you have to work. Bible says that anyone that does not work should not eat. And if you're not working, how do you expect to eat? That means that you will be in bondage. You won't be able to afford certain things that you are supposed to afford. You can also enter into financial bondage when you carry too many responsibilities. You're taking care of this person, taking care of that person, taking care of family issues, yourself, friends, a whole lot. That can end you up in financial bondage. When you experience problems or situations that take away your job or business or your livelihood, that can end you up in financial bondage, like Job, like the troubles that happened to Job, and he lost everything. That is a demonic attack. So demonic attacks can also lead to financial bondage. Now, when you fail to fulfill vows, when you make a vow in church to do something unto the Lord and you don't do it, it can end you up in financial bondage. So if you have any pending vow, make up your mind to take it up and fulfill that vow. When you find out that you are under the influence of territorial limitations, there are some areas when you work there, there's no way you are going to move forward. There are some jobs when you do, there's no way you are going to move forward. Maybe that is not God's plan for you. That's not what you are supposed to do. And when you find yourself in those jobs, there's no way you are going to make progress. There are areas, the demons in charge of those areas do not allow anyone to cross certain limits. And when you find yourself in those areas, there's no way you're going to move forward. So you need to soak yourself into prayer in order to be discerning of God's will in your life. If you are someone who feels steal, you end up in financial bondage. You can never steal to make it in life. You can never steal to become who God has destined you to be in life. So when you steal, you will end up in financial bondage. When you also realize that you have more expenditure than your income, that alone is financial bondage, because you can't have more things you are spending money on that are not bringing you money back. If you have many things in your life that you are spending much more money on that is not bringing you any good returns, any money back, that is financial bondage. As a Christian, when you find that you don't pay tithe and offerings, you're always the type that argue about it, you can end up in financial bondage, because tithe and offerings deliver you from financial bondage. And if you don't do so, you can end up in financial bondage. Negative confessions can bring you into financial bondage. When you realize that you complain, you use your mouth to run yourself down, to bring yourself down, to demean yourself, you can end up in financial bondage. When you realize that you are never saying positive things about your life, about your finances, about your prosperity, about your future, you end up in poverty and financial bondage.